Okay, so this is game four. I think this is the final round of Swiss for this tournament. This is Spright. I think hand trap Spright build versus Tearlaments, the King of the Swamp, branded in high spirits Tearlaments. So no Ishizu cards, but still pretty decent deck. And who goes first? Didn't see who won that die roll. Shola's going first. Okay, so he starts with Planet, which is already great because that's the card that takes Tear from being like already oppressive to having an additional pop during either player's turn, like as long as you have a way to proc it, which you don't actually need the Shizu cards to do. You can just like do it after shuffling back from a fusion effect. Now, branded in high spirit. So like what this does, how this works is you can reveal a monster in your hand, and then you can send a monster from your extra deck to the grave. The target I think is always Rukalos, and then you can send the card you revealed, in this case a Havness, to the graveyard by effect, and that allows you to trigger that card if you want to. And then you can add a monster. I think it's a monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz. So this is Cartesia. I don't actually know what the synergy is with Cartesia, or if it's just like an engine requirement. But anyhow, he uses Havness's effect to fuse, which would have used itself and Rukalos to make Kit, I guess. But he gets DD Crowed on the Havness. So Shola has Rhino Heart, so he goes normal summon Rhino, effect dump Shaylin. And then Shaylin effect, and then Ted has Bell in hand. So now the only Tear Fusion that hasn't been used is Merly. Based on the way he played his hand, I'm not sure if he has easy access to it. So this may be, yeah, he just passed his turn. Based on the way he played, you could kind of tell he didn't really have extenders after that. He used the Branded in High Spirits, he used the Rhino Heart. Both of his grave effects got hit. There are not a lot of tear hands, like pure tear hands, that just like play through that easily. So normal Swap Frog effect, send Swap Frog. Special summon blue effect, search from deck, probably Jet. Yeah, so revealing that he did not already have a Jet in hand. Jet effect, what is he reading here? Maybe he's checking the grave effect for Rhino Heart, which is that if it's sent to the grave, you can special summon it back from the grave and then send a tier card from your hand to the grave. So Jet adds starter. Does not reveal for sure that he has Smashers in hand, but he may just need it as an extender. He may not have any other Sprite cards in his hand, so it's not like any for sure knowledge. He does have the Pixies in hand. Interesting. So he's main decking Pixies. Goes into the Sprint. Now I'm pretty sure he's playing like the nimble stuff. So if the Sprint resolves, this would just be dumping an Angler to summon two Beavers, which he does have the space for. Yeah, so dumping the Angler to special summon two Beavers. I don't actually know if this version of Tears that Show is playing has any hand traps. Like, because there's no Ishizu stuff, so there's no Kelbeck. He already used the Havness that was in his hand. Extremely unlikely that he would have had another Havness in hand. And if he did, he would have used it already. So that means that Ted maybe just wins here, because this is game one. And at this point, you probably just assume the opponent has nothing in hand to stop you. Okay, so he's he playing Bestials as well. I have no idea what build this is. So he has a Juris Worm. Yeah, but that's game anyhow. So game one goes to Ted. So Spright Hand Trap wins after negating both grave effects from the Tear player. I'll skip forward a little bit. Okay, so game two. Game one went to Hand Trap Spright, basically because of Crow and Bell in the first turn, shutting down the Branded and High Spirits play and everything. Sholo draws Planet again, which is good. So Planet adds Shaylin. Shaylin is the one that you normally want to start with. So there's the Shaylin, revealing Shaylin for effect. And Ted has drawn the Shifter. That's crazy. So yeah, obviously you don't just shotgun the shifter. You want to wait until there's an effect like this, like until they go Shaylin effect or Merly effect, or even better, if it's like Scream Merly effect. Oh, was he? Okay, I think he was like thinking, like, does he Magnum up the shifter? I'm not sure what was about to happen there. Oh, he does. He does. So okay, so he has Magnum in hand. He's going to Magnum up the shifter, which means if Ted has another shifter, then wait, did he just imperm the Magnum? Why would he do that? Okay, so Cartesia is a tuner. So the Magnamut and the Cartesia go into Baron, which is interesting. I actually did not expect that, but that's a pretty useful property for that to be a tuner if you're playing the Bestials. I don't. I feel like the Imperm was pretty risky because there was also the option to just make Baguska pass. Like if he wasn't going to go into the Baron, you know, if they have Shaylin, Cartesia, Baguska can be hard to get over. And if you had the Imperm, you could just Imperm the Baguska. Or in this case, he was making Baron, and then you probably would have wanted the Imperm for the Baron. Unless I misunderstood what happened, it looked like he did Imperm the the Magnamut, which seems like a misplay. So yeah, so Ted goes starter blue, and then he barons the blue, which is exactly why you wanted to save the Imperm. Like the Bestial's not gonna hit Spright so hard that you can't play at all, right? It's more like you don't want to get hit by the XYZ or the synchro in this case that he makes. So yeah, there's another bell for what Rhino dumps, and wow. Wait, so that entire game was just because he impermed the Magnamut, I think. Let me just wait. Let me make sure that I didn't go through that wrong. So he had the materials to make a rank 4, and he knew that because he had the Cartesia in hand and he hadn't normal summoned yet, and he just had Shaylin on the field. So even if you don't know that your opponent plays Baron, you probably expect that the standard play is Baguska, right? Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that was the issue. You just accept the fact that Magnamut will resolve. Your opponent will get the Druid's Worm on the next turn, and that's it. Okay, so pretty quick game. So going into game 3 now, and Spright will be going first. I guess if you're going first, you could still be playing the D shifter. If you weren't maining it, you could still be siding it in, I guess, because it definitely doesn't hurt you nearly as much as it hurts tears. You can play around it to some extent, or you can just accept it and at least have the tear player suffer. Let's skip over this shuffling. Okay, so both players have drawn. Ted is going first. Starts with Dupe. Dupe, I guess, like, because Super Poly has kind of fallen out of favor, Dupe can come back a little bit, like especially when you're summoning it off of Toad in the standby phase. You're not just gonna go, like, the opponent usually is not just gonna go battle phase, Super Poly, Toad, Dupe, attack over Elf. Like, that's not as common anymore. But yeah, just like standard Sprite stuff so far. Going for Sprint, which will dump Angler. I didn't actually look to see if I could see anything in Shola's hand. I don't see any purple cards, so I guess he does not have Imperm. So that means this may just be full combo. And this is one of those boards that there's not really much to commentate on for the Sprite player. This is like an extremely standard play where you're basically just getting bodies on the field so that you can make the Sprint to dump the Angler to get the Nimbles. Then you have the materials for the Elf to bring back the second Swap Frog and go into Toad. In this case, he already has the Dupe Frog. I don't know if he plays 2 or 3 swaps. I think 3 swaps and 1 Dupe might be a little bit excessive, but I don't actually know his ratios. So the swap comes back. You have the Toad that the Elf points to. There's a Gigantic there that the red contribute. So again, not just a negate, but a negate and a destroy if he wants. Also, the Gigantic is a 3200, so can't just run over it. Maybe he made a little bit of an error with the way that he summoned things. I'm not sure if he could have done it differently with the order, but the Elf is not pointing to the red. And Chola has Dark Ruler. So Dark Ruler, one of the best cards you can possibly play against Spright. I'm not sure if that's only one card in Ted's hand. So even if it is a hand trap, there's only one. There are two set cards. So could be Smashers, could be Double Cross, could be Imperm. Yeah, it looks like there is a Smashers. So Shola activates Planet, Smashers, banish the red. Wouldn't you want to banish the Gigantic though? Because you'd still have you still have Elf to be able to bring something back, and then Red contribute that, or Red contribute the Elf after Elf has used its effect on Toad. Yeah, I think maybe it was better to banish the Gigantic, although it could be something that I just didn't see. Anyhow, at least Ted can't die this turn, and unless something weird happens, he'll get an add back off the Toad. So he may still be able to survive here. So Shailen, what's this? We have a Havness, a Magnemut, and a King of the Swamp that looks are being milled off of this Shailen. And the Shailen from hand. So if he it's yeah, I was about to say, so that's a Bell in hand. If you only activate one card in the grave, you're not really playing around any of those hand traps, and you know he has like Crow and Bell. So it's probably mostly safer to always trigger both. So that if one gets negated, you still have the other one. And then if he doesn't negate either, even if it's suboptimal, you just fusion summon twice, even if you have to like, reuse a redundant material. But the cool thing about playing King of the Swamp on Grapha is that it means you don't have to use your tier monsters in grave as material because you're using the King of the Swamp as material. So the Grapha is actually like a super free card. And the Gigantic is back at 1600 attack because of the Dark Ruler, because that is a continuous effect. The Grapha is 3200 attack. So Shailen can run over the Elf. The Grapha can run over the Toad. I'm not sure what he's thinking about here. He literally cannot do anything. So the Toad goes to grave. Toad goes to grave. He activates Toad's effect and Shola chains Magnemut because there's still an elf on the field, so he can't actually use it as a quick effect. I don't know if it really matters what he banishes here off the Magnemut. I don't know if there are other targets. Let's see. There's a blue. There's a bell. Um, I'm not sure if there are other dark monsters in there. Is he activating Magnemut or is he just using Grapha against the Toad? Let's find out. Okay, so no. So yeah, Magnemut specials. He attacks with the Elf. Obviously, there's no damage taken because of Dark Ruler, but he is going to get end phase effect to search Druid's Worm probably. Do we know that card in hand? I can't see it. So it looks like he's going end phase, yeah, and searching the Druid's Worm. So Druid's Worm is known. I don't know if we know the other card in hand. Now he does have Grapha, and Ted knows that there's a card in hand that you can discard off of Grapha. So there may only be one interruption, but that might be enough. He has a set card. He has one card in hand. So okay, Ted goes Nimble, which was known. Grapha effect Pitch Merly, which is actually insane because this can trigger. This is not like discarding for cost. The Grapha changes the effect to be discarding one of his monsters. So that means the Nimble effect becomes basically that Shola discards Merly, then Merly can proc Engrave. So Merly resolves, fusion summons Kit Kalos. Now he can use Kit and he can dump another Terra card to fuse straight into Root Kalos, which is pretty good against Spright. Although I guess he can also. um, Yeah, so Ted did have a double cross there, which is not like, I mean, usually if they have a set card and it wasn't Smashers because you used it already, it's probably double cross or Imperm. But there are really just like too many cards on the field at this point. Like after Beaver doesn't resolve, I don't know if we know the other card in hand, but I mean, double cross doesn't have like there's no XYZ he controls to attach it to or like a link monster he can point it to or whatever. So it's like double cross isn't even doing anything. I think they're just discussing like that maybe there was nothing that Ted could have done at this point. But like basically the thing is with Grapha, right, is if you have Grapha and you have a tear card in hand that you can discard, that's extremely hard to beat. Because if the Grapha resolves, you get the Grapha negate, and then you have another fusion summon for free. And then you have options, right? Because it's like you make Kit could dump something, go into Rukalos. It also doesn't have to do that. Kit could add Halfness. You could have Halfness in hand, trigger Halfness, because you know your opponent's linear play, mill another three. So that's game. So 2-1 to Tear Limits. Unfortunate use of Imperm in the previous game, which was completely unnecessary on the Magnamut. Um, not sure exactly how the game would have gone if that was different, but I mean, if you have a little bit of resources and you just hold the Imperm, you're basically playing for free with like no interruptions to worry about because you trade the Imperm with the Baron in that case. So that's going to be a 2-1 to Tears, King of the Swamp, Tears, King of the Swamp, branded in High Spirits, Tears. And that's the final game for Swiss. So congrats to Shola for this win.